I would also like to mention that Commissioner Keniston Lee made a really fabulous suggestion that since this is the first meeting, the first live meeting since in 2 years, and for all of Chair Oslin's term, that perhaps we could put or rearrange the agenda and put the election of officers and the recognition of Chair Osland at the end of the meeting so that she might have the opportunity to run a live meeting in the chamber.
Boy, lucky me.
Do you need a
Great.
motion for that, Kathy, or?
Yes, we would need
So
to.
moved.
And all in favor?
Yo.
Hi.
Any opposed?
I have a clarifying question. Where will that fall? Is that after our commission business?
Yes. Let's put that at the end of,
After the maintenance report. Before staff reports.
Yeah.
Yes.
Put it after the staff report.
all right, would you like to do it after the staff reports or?
Perfect.
After staff reports, before commission liaison reports,
Yeah.
correct? Okay.
That's where it shall go. Thank you.
Kathy, I have a question.
Mhm.
You said there's a policy meeting. I thought there was a facilities meeting.
The facilities meeting, we're not going to be having, so it'll just be policy next week and we'll send out a quick announcement on that.
Well, now I can take that off.
Could you remind us who's on the policy subcommittee?
Policy is
Myself and.
Partha,
and,
but that's facilities.
yeah, that's facilities.
Oh, yeah.
Facilities is
I'm on
care,
policy.
yes,
Okay, then I'm on policy.
Yeah.
I think
Okay,
it's-
just want to make sure.
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you.
We'll figure it
I
out.
think you are too.
Am I policy?
It's been a
I
while.
believe so.
That's fine.
I will send you all a
Yes, thank
reminder
you.
tomorrow. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. All right, moving on to item 5, public comment or written communication. At this time, members of the public are encouraged to address the Parks and Community Services Commission on any item not already included in tonight's agenda. Comments should not exceed 3 minutes. Comments from the public under public comment may also be submitted by email to Christy Tolman. No commission action can be taken at this meeting on issues raised during public comment. Do we have anyone in the audience with public comment? We do.
Perfect. You can fill out a comment card, but you could make the comment first if you would like.
All right, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
So my name's Ken El Sharif. I live at 9501 Velvet Leaf Circle, family of 4, 13-year residents of San Ramon. I want to start by saying thank you for all that you do. We have a great city and I appreciate it. Public service isn't always a thankful job, as you guys know better than me. Okay, so I'm asking for your help to make soccer a sport that's available to the San Ramon community. We have wonderful parks, we have wonderful soccer fields. However, every goal in the city is locked. So kids can't play with it unless they play through a club. You guys know soccer is a hugely popular sport. By the way, I have to do this in 3 minutes, so I cut out all my jokes. So it's just serious, only serious. Soccer is a hugely popular sport. Perfect. I'll add something. All right. It's the most popular youth sport, right? It's more kids play soccer than football. Importantly, it's the only sport in the top 5 for both boys and girls. Over a quarter of the kids in California play soccer, depending on the source you look at. So I have all this sourced. So it's really important. It's big for kids across the country. It's big for kids in San Ramon. San Ramon has clearly made parks a focus for our community. I feel like, I don't know if it's in the strategic plan for the city, but I feel like it is. But it's a differentiator for us in the East Bay. I think of Pleasanton, they have this downtown. Walnut Creek has the best shopping. Danville has the best restaurants. Well, San Ramon has the best parks and schools probably, but best parks. Now I know we're trying to take on Pleasanton and Walnut Creek and Danville with City Center, right? So we're going to get better restaurants and all of that, but let's not let them have better parks than us. My son is one of those kids that loves to play soccer. And so do all his friends at San Ramon. Every day in the summer, he goes to play soccer, and every day he doesn't have a goal to use. Nobody in our community can really play soccer anywhere in San Ramon because every goal is locked, at least every goal that he's looked for and found. Sure, you can bring a portable goal, But have you ever seen a 14-year-old kid try and put a portable goal on his back while he's riding his bike to a park? It's kind of hard, right? So I need your help getting access to usable soccer field with a goal. Now there is a solution, and that solution, I understand there's liability for a goal that can move. So the solution is a permanent goal on a field somewhere in San Ramon. I've spoken to Kathy and Keith, and they've said it's possible. They have not committed anything. They've not said it's easy, but it's possible. And so what I'm asking you is to let them or task them or however it works, explore this opportunity and come up with a proposal on how it can fit into the San Ramon Parks long-term plan. I feel like the city with the best parks in Northern California should have a place where kids can play the most popular sport. So it seems pretty straightforward. Hopefully there's a way you guys can do this. At least let them give it a try. That's all I have.
Great.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Yes,
You
please.
can put your jokes on the card too.
He wasn't kidding. Do we have any other additional public comment from anyone in the audience? Do we have anyone on Zoom with a public comment?
There's no one on Zoom with their hand raised for public comment, and there was no written comment either.
Okay, thank you, Stacy. Then I'm going to close item 5, public comment or written communication. Moving on to item 6, approval of minutes. Do I have a motion has everyone had a chance to review the minutes of our regular meeting on June 8th, 2022?
I so move that the June 8th minutes of the San Ramon Park and Community Service be approved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Looks like all in favor. Moving on to item 7, consent calendar. Do we have any items for the consent calendar?
We do not.
All right, moving on to item 8, commission business. It was noted during the special items and announcements that we will move 8.1 and 8.2 to follow after 9.1, our recreation operations and maintenance report. So I'm opening up our commission business and we will start with 8.3. San Ramon 2022 Art and Wind Festival recap and evaluation. We're going to receive a report from Steve Cox, Recreation Supervisor.
Well, thank you, Chair Oslin and the rest of the Parks and Community Services Commission for having me here tonight. It is very nice to be back in person. I'm here tonight. I am Steve Cox, as mentioned, and I'm the lead staff for the Art and Wind Festival. I'm here to recommend the Parks and Community Services Commission receive the Art and Wind Festival recap and evaluation presentation and provide feedback. Just to point out, as we start the presentation, I always like to highlight, this is one of the lead bands that was there at the Art and Wind Festival. This is East Bay Mud. And then to the right of that, I believe to your right, is the commission artwork that was selected by the Arts Commission. And this is by Ruth Miller, just a truly beautiful piece of artwork. And lastly, our motto this year was back with you in 2022. And part of that is really due to the support by the Parks and Community Services Commission, as we had to make many decisions very early on. And so we were very happy to be able to be back with you in 2022. The Art and Wind Festival is a unique family-friendly celebration where people can gather and enjoy a variety of high-quality entertainment, food, and children's activities at a reasonable cost. In addition, it is an opportunity for the city to showcase the variety of services, programs, and facilities available to the San Ramon residents. And as you see, the San Ramon Art and Wind Festival began as a street fair all the way back in 1989. And it's really become the city's signature event that we hold and that we're glad and very happy to be able to hold again. Some of the highlights for this year is that we had 100+ fine arts and crafts vendors throughout the Central Park. We had 4 entertainment stages, We had a professional choreographed kite flying demonstration that was done on the Lucky A's field. We had 2 kid zone amusement areas, and we had 12 amusement rides available at the festival. We had our free kite making workshop. We had 20 nonprofit food and beverage vendors, 17 commercial business vendors, 25 info alley vendors, and 5 activity vendors. Many of these are staple items that we were able to bring back to the Art and Wind Festival this year. With the desire to make the festival more COVID-friendly, staff expanded the footprint and utilized more of Central Park, a community entertainment stage, a demonstration area for a marching band, a tractor exhibit, a professional bubblesmith were all held on Field 5 at the north end of Central Park, while the children's amusement rides were relocated to the parking lot parallel to Field 5 along Acosta Boulevard. Additionally, staff relocated the puppet stage to the terrace patio, doubling the show's capacity and participation. And the relocation of the puppet stage also created an additional exit for our kite making workshop, providing a better flow and less congestion in the San Ramon Community Center. Some of these additional highlights that we were able to bring back this year were very exciting for us. We were able to partner with the sports basement to provide a free in-store bike valet service to anybody attending the festival. The East Bay Regional Park District was able to come back out and had their mobile visitor center. We had new vendor in our kid zone, a young lady and her father who did a DIY slime kit. We had 17 multicultural performances, our tethered hot air balloon that was provided by our the Remax balloon team. A poster signing by Ruth Miller that was in our community center. We had a steam-powered engine and snow cone machine that you can see here, which is quite unique to the festival this year. The San Ramon Valley Fire Department provided their search and rescue dog demonstration. We had the California High School Pep Rally Band greet visitors from the Iron Horse side as they came into the festival this year. As mentioned, we had our interactive bubblesmith demonstration out on Field 5. We also increased ADA parking this year. And that was something that goes all the way back to 2019 when we were allowed to have the festival. And so we had more ADA parking in front of the City Hall area than we've ever had for the festival this year. We also had the Forest Home Farm tractor display come out to Field 5. We're excited to be able to showcase some of our own internal items. And that was something that, we felt important to show, not just the Art and Wind Festival, but what also is available in the city. And then we had our very exciting helicopter landed that was provided by the Auxiliary Coast Guard. Discussing some of the food and beverage vendors, you can see our food vendors can only be nonprofit organizations and that, go back to a nonprofit entity, hopefully in our community. We did have one new food offering from a previous year when that was boba tea. The hot food, if you were able to visit, we offered kettle corn, burgers, gyros, corn dogs, pizza, and all of the vendors said they had very good sales. Now we had great weather, so that obviously that was a benefit to the festival, but I think we saw that people were ready to come out and really enjoy the festival. And so you saw the kettle corn vendor had the second highest sales that he has had in 25 years. And so that's one of our longest tenured vendors. So we were excited to hear that. And then our gyros and cheeseburgers were all sold out towards the very end of the event. So what they did was they brought in what they had previously sold in previous years, and they were able to leave without having to go buy more. So they were very excited about that too. We did say that our alcohol sales were stagnant. We do think that is in part, we do have a changing consumer base. And our ice cream carts also sold out of their stock. If you're here later in the afternoon, things were getting hotter. And we also saw that a lot more children were participating in those ice cream and popsicle novelties. This year, as you see these different categories we have, for our business sponsors, we did see a drop in the overall number of business sponsors that we go back to 2019. We did still have Chevron as our title sponsor. And as mentioned, the Remax balloon team was able to come out, provide that demonstration that they have done in previous years, along with Sports Basement, who was able to offer that in-store bike valet, which gives us the ability then to direct people when they bring in all the bikes to our festival. we did still see bikes, people parking their bikes in the festival, but at least it gives them an outlet and then gives the sponsors Sports Basement an outlet as well. In 2019, you'll see that we had 21 sponsors, so a small drop. Now, on the other side, we saw an increase in our nonprofit information alley vendors. So this year we had 25 nonprofit vendors, which was really exciting and really filled up that entire area if you're able to walk through it. We do charge a fee. We consider it a nominal fee. And we're up almost 9 vendors from what we had in 2019. So really filled that space. Some of them had activities going on, so it really became a big part of the festival. Now, the festival is really dependent on also getting our local community volunteers involved. And so you'll see that we had over 400 hours of volunteer service over the course of the weekend. That includes Saturday to help with some of the setting up, and then the Sunday and Monday of the event. So most of our volunteers are younger, middle school and high school. And also we see a lot of service groups come out, such as the National Charity League. The volunteers worked in our kids zone area, kite making workshop, handing out balloons at City Hall and assisting with setting up and taking down the event. They really become face painting experts, which we're always very excited because by the end, they're always talking about how they can go home with their own little kids parties and, do this at home. So we're always excited to have that opportunity for them and also to interact with the community. Some of the other items to make note of, so our parking did go up. If you look back into your staff report, you'll see those numbers did go up slightly in 2022. So we had 3,178 cars parked this year. And we think that's a really not good number overall, considering too, we know there was other outlets for people to park. But we did increase not just our ADA parking, but we also opened it up in partnership with Sunset to have people park in Bishop Ranch 15, which we believe gave other outlets for people to park. This year we had 3,600 kite kits that came through our fountain room here at the Central Park. And that was in addition to the 400 that we had left over from a previous order. So we had more kite kits and we completely ran out by the end of the festival. And again, the volunteers are just such a tremendous help with that. They help get everything ready, get everything assembled. So when the families come in, they're able to make those kite kits. As mentioned, we gave more outlets this year so people can exit. They could take the kite kits if they wanted to go outside. But most people chose to stay, form the kites. And then if you went out to our fields, you probably saw a majority of those kites flying in the air. So as mentioned, Sports Basement said they'd let us know they had about 300 bikes that were parked in the bike valet. And then we had our 109 fine art and craft and specialty food vendors that we work with the contractor who came to the festival this year. And then you have a couple of pictures. There is our helicopter that landed there on Field 5. Entertainment is a big part of the festival. And so when we say we have 4 stages, I mean, we're really excited to provide a variety of entertainment on all 4 of those stages. The Chevron stage is our main stage. And so that's where we have some of our biggest acts. But then we also have our Iron Horse stage that we have a lot of our community acts. We also have the amphitheater stage where we have a lot of our community acts. And then we have our puppet theater stage. So those are our 4 stages. And then, as mentioned earlier, we had moved the puppet stage out to the terrace patio. And I believe because it was more visible, we saw a lot more participation at that stage. And as you can see, we had over 30 different performances throughout the festival over the 2 days. And so it's a lot of work goes into creating a crafted schedule that everybody has something to do while they're here. And that's really what we want to be able to provide to the community. And in addition to the weekend's activities, this year included a new memorial program held at Memorial Park on Monday to honor America's fallen service members. The program included a live trumpeter, bagpiper, speeches by the San Ramon's vice mayor, and Blue Star Moms representative, a reading of In Flanders Field by San Ramon's poet laureate, color guard provided by the Vietnam veterans of Diablo Valley, and a placing of the American flags in the Field of Flags tribute. In addition, we also had a veterans art exhibit by Steve Burchek in the City Hall Rotunda. And a lot of work went into honoring the day and also separating it, saying, we have the Art and Wind Festival, but we're also taking time to recognize Memorial Day. And so my manager, Becky Adams, who's here tonight, put in a lot of effort to really make that a really beautiful event for anybody who wanted to attend. And with that, we're already looking ahead to next year. But we're excited to be looking ahead to next year, knowing that we're going to have this wonderful festival. But some of the things that we took note with feedback from our community, feedback from our employees, feedback from our volunteers, we want to develop more unique wind-related festival offerings and really take advantage of that art and wind portion of that title. Increase culturally inclusive entertainment, including food and activities at the festival. Focus on popular, familiar bands on the main stage, really bands that people might know locally. Maybe they're performers to really bring them out to the festival. Increase the emphasis and enhance the Memorial Day program even more. Increase the number of popular and diverse food offerings that we have. Increase connectivity and visibility of City Hall. And we know we did expand that footprint this year. We learned some things, but we know that a lot of our consumers who come through the festival come through that corridor that brings you through in front of City Hall. So we know that's an important walkway there that we really want to address. Consider alternatives for the bike valet to be on site. So working with Sports Basement, I understand they wanted to do in-store service, but we also know that a lot of people get about halfway if they're coming south on Iron Horse and they just stop. So how do we service those people coming on bikes? Further develop the demonstration area and interactive art at the festival. We thought that was a big part as we included it on Field 5, and we know that there's room to enhance that area. Potentially, we might be faced with the need to relocate our garbage and recycling area and where we sort that. That is the dirt lot across from City Hall. We've been lucky enough to be able to use that for several years, but if it does become developed, we will have to find a way to relocate that. Increase usage of local school bands at the festival. So we had a little taste of the Cal High band come out and everybody really enjoyed that. So can we have other local high schools perform? Is that an opportunity? And then we do want to increase our sponsorships and business booths at the festival. We expect that to happen in another year. We know that we were still coming out and there's still some apprehension, especially amongst the sponsors this year. And so a lot of those pre-commitments became, we're gonna take a break this year, and but hopefully we'll be back with you next year. So we do expect that to increase as well. And that was our 2022 Art and Wind Festival.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Steve. Thank you so much for your report. Always a must participate in event for the city of San Ramon residents. Love it, love it, love it. Before I open it up to the commissioners for feedback which is what you're looking for tonight, is some feedback about the Art and Wind Festival. I'd like to open it up for public comment. Do we have anyone in the audience who would like to make a public comment? Do we have anyone online on Zoom?
We don't have any hands raised online.
Okay, then I will close the public comment, and I'd like to open it up to the commissioners to share their feedback. And what I'd like to do is, rather than talking over each other, just raise your hand, and I see out of the corner of my right eye, Commissioner Dorlick, please start.
I like the new footprint. It really opens things up, which were nice. So it provides a lot of area for expansion. Bike ballet, you got plenty of room there. I do agree with that comment that there's a lot of traffic that goes past City Hall coming from the marketplace and other parking areas. So there used to be, I think the police had their demonstration areas there and another city booth and et cetera, and those weren't there this year. So just an observation, and I think we've already talked about this, is that I didn't see a lot of fine art in the booths this year. Normally I always try to find a local artist to purchase something, there was a lot of photography, and that was about it. And, not really fine art, watercolors or oils. We always had a couple of sculptures that were there, and, they were actually doing some art as part of the fair. And I know the comment I think I heard during the Art and Win was that, we really don't have control over that. That's really the vendor that we use to get that. And there were a lot of people that dropped out over the last couple of years because of the inactivity, and they weren't able to sustain the business. But just a comment, I always like to see some of the fine art rather than the glossy photos. And, there were some unique things, but not anything that, was really appealing. And then my last comment would be talking about sponsorships. And this is probably a general comment for just the city of San Ramon in particular. We're losing Chevron. Gradually, they're going to be leaving, their facility here. They're going to be moving there. They've been moving, for 10 years. We've had that heads up, and they've always been kind of a baseline sponsor and contributing a lot. Are we actively, soliciting other corporate sponsors to fill that potential gap that's coming in? Now, they'll probably stay for a couple more years because it's going to take a while to clear that out, but obviously it's barricaded. So it's not something, and I'm glad they're still contributing on a fairly substantial level. And again, it's probably not just addressed to you, it's probably addressed to the entire commission and committee that, Chevron's been our, sustaining sponsor for as long as I can remember. And that's 28 years. I can remember a little bit longer, but not San Ramon. So I don't expect an answer, but I'm just putting it out there that we really have to start actively soliciting other corporate sponsors to, look at filling that, that void that's going to come up. But great activities. Enjoyed the food, good food that was out there. So again, after being gone for 2-3 years, it was a lot of fun. I know it was tough to bring back just because, you have that momentum, because as soon as you finish, you start up the next day in past years. And this was, okay, we got to get it, going. But great job by staff, Kathy, all around. And those would be my comments. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Dorlick. Kathy, were you going to say something? No.
I was just busy
Just
talking.
adjust.
Sorry.
Okay.
Cyclone.
Okay, Vice Chair Keniston Lee.
Okay, so first I have a question, and then after I hear the answer, I have some comments. Can you remind us what we've done in the past to get resident input on the event and suggestions, and how do we engage them in giving us feedback and ideas?
Traditionally, after the festival, we really try to get the feedback from our vendors and the people that have been participating as either the contractor vendors, our volunteers, or our staff.
Okay.
And what they learn from people who are utilizing the festival.
Yeah. And surveys are tricky because, you open yourself up to ideas that maybe aren't feasible, but I feel we're at a place with the evolution of the event that I'd like to explore surveying the public and seeing, would they like to see more fine art? I think that's a great point. 2 of the only fine art pieces I probably have in my home are from the Art and Win Festival, and so I'd like to see if we can explore how we can survey our residents in addition to the vendors and the volunteers and so forth. So that would be one thing. And first of all, I love this event. It is like heartfelt in that way. But I did sense the lightness of the vendors. As you walk through, if you've been to it for years and years, you walk through and you're like, yeah, it's really a little lopsided this year. So part of that is it's just an unavoidable, result of where we're at with the pandemic and with people bouncing back. The fact that we were able to get as many vendors as we had was an amazing thing. So, but what I'd like to do is work with our vendor wrangler or the whoever handles that for us, and whatever we can do on our own to really be as proactive as possible and say, let's come up with a fun tagline for 2023, but whatever that is, really say we want to do it big next year. We understand this is a transitional year, but let's really take the bull by the horns and see what we can do to increase that. So really be proactive. Becky, I love that Memorial Day event. That was fantastic. It was heartfelt. It was succinct. It was well organized. And so I really appreciate what you guys all did on that. You too, Steve. But I'm looking at her because I know she really put her heart and soul into that one. I'd like to see that one promoted even more. I know we just sort of tried it out the first year, but I see that growing exponentially. I really do. So those, I don't know who else was with us when we were there, but it was just poignant and well done. And then a couple of final things. I love keeping it hometown in certain respects with the tractors and the bands and just making it a real hometown event. I love that. Let's continue with that, in my opinion. I love the focus on San Ramon history. I think, anytime we can infuse that, so that even folks coming from outside of our community, they learn more about San Ramon and they appreciate that we're not just this bedroom community, but we've got depth and history and we're building on it. I think that's good. Love the bike valet thing. I think that's really great. We're trying to promote bikeability and walkability in our community. So that was a perfect dovetail of that. And just as a kind of a wrap up is, I love that you guys try to keep it dynamic, because tastes change, things change. And, I know my kids were so excited about boba tea. They're like, that's a hip thing, I guess. And so, we need to be doing that. We don't ever, we've talked about this before in these meetings, that we don't ever want to rest on our laurels and be stagnant about what we do. And you guys do that. And I just want to say that we support you guys, keeping your eye and keeping it fresh and keeping with the traditions, but at the same time, making it a dynamic process. So I love it. I'm so glad it was back to you in 2022. Can't wait to see what your tagline is for 2023. But thank you for all the hard work. We appreciate it.
Great, thank you. Other commissioners? Commissioner Mitra.
Thank you. Steve, Kathy, and the whole staff, thank you. Thank you for bringing it back. We needed this out of COVID. We needed something to celebrate, and it was pretty obvious. And it was very, very important for me because I was extremely involved. I was volunteering. My two girls volunteered. And also from Agamani Power, we had food stalls as well as culture program. So it's thoroughly involved, thoroughly enjoyed, and really thank you. Thank you for doing that, and congratulations for extremely well done, well managed program on that, especially after 2 years and COVID, taking all those challenges right front and doing this on that. I have a couple of questions. Number one is, do we really know the footfall about this year? Or is there any idea on this footfall thing?
The overall foot traffic, is that the attendance? As you kind of look at how we track the attendance, we get a general idea. And so we know that our parking participation was up. We know that many of our food vendors sold more items or overall than they have in previous festivals. But we don't have an exact number for you. And so overall attendance, is a little harder for us. And we are looking at if there's a better metric measure that we can capture that data. But we do know that it from everything that we've been told, that the attendance was at least as high as previous festivals pre-COVID.
Yeah. Okay, actually that's what I was looking for compared to 2018 or 19, where Google or more probably on that one. Coming back to the sponsorship thing, I think that is something that we definitely need to look at. If we're losing the title sponsor, that is something definitely we need to start looking. And I would like to see that into year 2020, 2023, looking forward to all those things on that. So probably something that we should really seriously look into that. The last one, it's a double-edged thing. So we wanted to expand it. We expanded it, right? We expanded all the way to Island House, which is big, and we have landed on that. One feedback that I got, and I don't know if we can really take that seriously that much, especially I heard from one of the vendors, food vendors, and he said because it was expanded so much, he thought his captive people were supposed to come to his stall and how much he prepared for that. It's expanded. spread out on that. And the people who went out all the way to Iron Horse, they didn't come back here because they got other food stalls over here. So anyway, that's something, just heard about it. I don't know if we really need to take it seriously because we have to expand it. I think I really like the whole new things on that, but at the same time, probably we need to also look at their vendors because they are heart and soul of the whole event as well. So, but overall, thank you. Thank you. Bring it back.
Commissioner Bree.
Thanks.
Getting coaching. Sorry about that. Hey, Steve, thanks for the presentation. And a couple of things. The thank you that everyone just said, I ditto that. And it was fun to watch you and Becky because I was giving out all the balloons, which, you know, I became really good at it actually. So for those who are counting, but seeing you and Becky run around and not just you, it's just the staff, it's the amount of work and preparation. I think what you put into it really you guys did a nice job, because if you don't do the prep that you did and the communication you all did in the beginning, I thought was really strong. So that's one thing I wanted to add that was kind of different. And I know Heidi talked about the Memorial Day event, but for me, it's like, that was my favorite part of the day. And it was really big for me. So thanks so much. And there'll be a way to build on that. But, you know, I think the big thing to take out of me is maybe because simple, but being concise and getting to the point, and then having the right speakers there, I thought was really important. So as you look at, I read that you guys wanted to, you know, how do you make it bigger, but also take a look at what worked really well and also the timing. So you got the point, and seeing all the veterans there was really cool. So thank you. I have a couple questions. First one is, or an idea, I'm sorry, not question. One idea that hit me as we're going around the fair is, I like how we're doing the environmental recycling. Is there a way that as we look into the future, can we work with, or nudge is probably a better way of saying, some of the food vendors that we're all using biodegradable plates and forks, and, you know, how do we get the whole community to understand what we're trying to do to put less waste within the system? So as maybe a footprint or a leg of the fair, and I don't know how hard that would be, Steve, but how do we encourage more recycling, less into the waste? Would be a good one. And then it ties in with filling up water. And it hit me like I bought something that was all plastic, right? And I'm like, oh, where did I put all this? So anyways, you got the point. So that's one idea I have for you. And then the other idea is, we talked about sponsorships. And my question would be, what did we have before? How many sponsors? And then really, what's your goal for next year, and how are we going to get it? And I know you guys work that. We had to work it for other events, but it'd be interesting to see kind of what the glide path is. What's our path to get sponsorships, and what are they, you know, why are they not contributing, or why they are contributing? So I'd like to, you know, see what your goal is and what's a reasonable goal to go do that, right? So that was kind of and what does help need? What's help needed with the sponsorships, and how can, you know, we need help if you need it. I think that's all I had. Oh, the last thing. So I was handing out balloons and doing a great job at it. And so this guy, my favorite part, by the way. So this band director, I told Kathy, came up, and, you know, I said, hey, how can we get more California bands? And you guys did that. But I think partnering with all types of bands, whether it's middle school orchestras, or, you know, Dougherty Valley, it's he's, you know, and some probably won't want to come, but the more we can do. So I love that idea. And, you know, as I told Kathy, this guy was amazing. Like, he wanted to help, and I have all these orchestras. So I think there's a really good pathway to go after that, because we'll bring more of our community out. And I just remember that no matter how this went, right, the goal was, how do we bring our community together? And, you know, I've heard the council say it a lot of times, is we want our community to come out a lot. And this was a great event, and one of the best ones we've done it. And then seeing you know, some of the concerts, it all kicked off because this was so well organized and did such a good job planning it. So thank you so much, and nice job, you guys. And thanks for taking my feedback too.
All right, Commissioner Lopez Lucy.
Well, thank you again for a great job. And you all, even at that day when I was just walking around, and I think it was great how you expanded it, because it really gave you more opportunity to go around and see what was happening. And I did notice, like Heidi said, that there was less vendors that you're usually there. And I agree that I think we should really increase our fine art, because there was very little of that. And so that's one thing that I really miss, that we don't have more of that. So, but I just, I was there just for volunteering. And I didn't have to do much, sit in the nice shade and didn't have to work a lot. I wasn't even doing balloons, but you met a lot of people. And I liked it that how you walked around and we saw all of you that were involved in it. The staff was involved in it, and you'd always stop and talk to people. And I think that's amazing that you're always out there, looking and see how you can help and getting feedback. And also, I think you did a great job in having it come back this year. I thought that was really good. And my husband and I, talked a lot with the police and the fire that was there on the side, and you could really, talk to them and everything. And I don't know, they asked us for a picture, but my husband wanted to know where we're going to get published for me taking a picture. And I said, I don't think, but that's okay. But it was fun. So you could just walk around and enjoy it. So thank you. And you always do a great job of instituting all this and making it work.
Thank you. Super, super fun. Always a must do in the city of San Ramon, and wouldn't miss it for the world. I'm sorry I didn't make it to the Memorial Day celebration. I was signed up to work in the city hall during that time, so couldn't be at both places. Handing out the balloons was very, very fun. I shared the stage with Commissioner Dorlick, and we had a blast. And it was never a dull moment. What I did find was a lot of people that were coming into City Hall actually were not San Ramon residents. So they were very curious about what we had on our table and asking questions. I didn't ask everybody, but from a sample of the folks that I spoke with, they were from Pleasanton. They were from a lot of other cities around the Bay Area looking for some fun. And like you said, the weather really cooperated. So it was like the perfect place to be on a lovely weekend. I agree with all the commissioners' feedback as far as, the art vendors. I love walking through there. I did see a lot of similar products, but, it's always fun for me. But I would like to see a little bit more, fine art, and also a little concerned about sponsorship, but you've heard that, so I don't need to say it again. I love the idea, Steve, about the recycled products. I think that is something that we do really need to be mindful of as we have more and more events, and getting our vendors to be on board with our policies and what we believe in to be earth friendly and sustainable. I think the last comment that I wanted to make was about the bicycles, and I'm just curious why the numbers were down. What do you think was the reason for that? Communication? I just curious, because the weather was right.
I think that the main reason for the bicycles who were participating in the bike valet being down was that Sports Basement wanted to move the bike valet into their store.
Oh,
Previous year, we had it out on previous year in 2019, they had it out on the Iron Horse Trail. And one of the primary reasons they were looking at in store was, as a sponsor, they wanted to see more foot traffic in their store. They also, I know we're looking at staffing shortages themselves. And so they were looking at that. So they wanted to try and see what happened. I think we, have a pretty clear picture of the difference between having the bike valet set up on the Iron Horse Trail, more centrally located at the event versus in store. But they also provide that as part of their service. And so, we wanted to make sure they had an opportunity to try it with the way they wanted to see it done under our guidance. And so we're going to go back with those numbers to them and show them the difference in participation, and hopefully show too that it'll, still mean that people will go through and find their store.
Okay, okay. Well, yeah, I guess I see it also possibly as a win-win for them, maybe looking at some other creative ways, having it on Iron Horse Trail, like to get a 10% off coupon to go to the store, whatever. It's not up to me to think of those ideas, but I just think also because school is still in session, it's like really, let's try to promote that as much as possible to get people on foot and on bikes, because the parking can be pretty chaotic to find a parking spot. So really trying to encourage people to get out and exercise and walk the city or ride the city. And we've got some great services to help support that. So unless there's anything else, I have one other hand raised here. Yes, Commissioner Dorlick.
So, Commissioner Steve, you talked about plastic utensils. I'm really confused because the recyclable utensils and plates and et cetera have been a policy with food vendors for San Ramon for, hey, I used to do 2 food vendors at the event for, 15 years. I haven't done it for 5 years. But, during that time, we always were required to have recyclable, utensils, the wooden, recyclable. So how did that happen and who did it? It's been a policy for many, many years. That's my understanding.
I would just say, I don't know, I'm not gonna, but I would just
It's
to
not
remind
correct.
people of our policies and and the goal was, how do we just reduce our footprint and find ways to do that? I think you got it, Steve. So,
Yeah, but I'm curious how it got past,
yeah.
Staff, because staff is pretty, diligent about that and, everybody signed.
Yeah.
Unless it was, we ran out and we had to run out to, Nob Hill and get some plastic utensils. We ran out of the other ones.
Steve's on the job. He'll figure it out.
Okay.
But
I will follow up with it.
Yeah.
Just to make sure, because we do have our policies and we do have a meeting with all the food vendors prior to go over, what the expectations are. So we'll check into it.
Mhm. Great. And then Vice Chair Kinnison Lee.
Oh, do you want to say something first, Kathy?
Yeah, I was just trying to jump in there. So, the products that are now made from the recyclable servingware
Material. Mhm.
look like plastic now.
Mhm.
They don't look like the wood ones from 5 years ago. And so whether or not what you had was a true plastic or whether it was the appropriate ones, because we do require all those food booths to still do that. That's required by the state for large events. So it is a requirement. So definitely something we can look into. But just so you know, that is something that we do ask all of the food booths to do.
They look better than the funky ones we used to have to get. Huh?
They do,
Okay,
much better.
okay.
The first year they
Those you can't
required
even
that,
pick
it was,
anything up with.
challenging.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All right, bring us home.
Yeah, so I just wanted to sort of jump onto what Commissioner Breed was saying. I actually love that you mentioned the climate stuff, the environmental stuff. I feel like, I'd love to see us move in a stronger direction on many levels, like having crafts, and we may have done this a time or two, but having crafts that or activities at the nonprofit booths that are, environmentally friendly, just sort of like interweave that concept, that approach where we can throughout the event. I think, Steve, that was a great thing to mention. I'd like to see us be more conscious of that and see where it makes sense and where people can help us, really look at ways to do like crafts, let's do, I know for Girl Scouts one year, my girls took the little, those little stoppers in the Starbucks cups and made bookmarks out of them. So if we could have some crafts that are very recycled oriented, I'd love to see that. So that was a good call.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, so fun. All those kites, walking around the field, seeing the huge kites in the air, or it's so fun. So thank you for a great event this year. And thank you, Becky, also for the Memorial Day celebration. Really nice.
And I would like just to say thank you for your support. The staff take a lot of pride, a lot of time, a lot of effort to put on the event, and your feedback tonight helps us with direction for next year, that we can look to incorporate some of that. And just personally working the event, it's really a city as a whole, it's a city event. And so it really, all our staff even in other departments. And it takes all the departments to really put it together. So, thank those staff. I know they're not here, but I know they really put everything into putting on the event. So
Absolutely. Thank you. All right. I don't think we don't need a motion on that.
Chair,
Item.
Chair, we
yes.
do have public comment for this one.
All right. Well, we had closed that, but I'll go ahead and, is that someone here in the audience?
No, online.
All right. I will accept that this time.
Thank you.
Hi, Chair. Thank you so much for opening up the hearing for the Zoom callers. I appreciate your grace. So my question is, looking at page 15 of the packet under this item, I understand why the business were in decline, specifically coming from Chevron and realtors, and the other one is a bike valet service. I'm wondering though, there isn't anything that was listed for 2019 and 21 sponsors, which I sort of wish we had, them listed, unless there wasn't any. I see that there is a nonprofit sponsor, but then I'm wondering if the nonprofit sponsor fees are much lower than the profit ones. So my question, I guess, to the staff is, how can we pick up new for-profit sponsors? And I am a little bit surprised that the lot did not stand up to the plate, help us out. Unless, of course, I'm misunderstanding, then please correct me. So those are my comments and thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Stacy? No? All right, public comment is closed and we'll move on to item 8.4, donation of AEDs for San Ramon Central Park and Rancho San Ramon Community Park. We're going to receive a presentation from Kathy Hyman, our Parks and Community Services Director.
Thank you. About AEDs for community parks. What we're looking for today is the recommendation to accept a donation from Full Point of 2 outdoor AEDs with installation in San Ramon Central Park and Rancho San Ramon Community Park. So I wanted to just kind of give you a little background on AEDs. So I think everyone's pretty good, but an AED or automated external defibrillator is used to help those experiencing sudden cardiac arrest. It's a sophisticated but fairly easy thing to use. It's a medical device. It talks you through exactly how to use it, and it delivers an electric rhythm to someone whose heart has stopped to reestablish that rhythm. The city has AEDs currently in all of our buildings, in the community centers, in City Hall, in our gyms. The schools have AEDs. All of our police officers carry AEDs. You find them in a lot more businesses now, and even some will carry them in their own cars. But we do not currently have any AEDs that are not inside a locked building. And this is a little problematic because that sudden cardiac arrest doesn't know that the building's closed. So it's a problem. A few facts about cardiac arrest. When a person experiences cardiac arrest outside of a healthcare setting, they show a significant increase in survival if they received a shock from an AED. 38% of victims shocked with an AED survived hospital discharge, whereas those who received CPR only survived 9% of the time. Sudden cardiac arrest is the leading cause of death in the United States. accounting for an estimated 325,000 deaths each year, one of them. 50% of victims of sudden cardiac arrest have no prior symptoms. That's kind of the scary part. And really, truly, sudden cardiac arrest is the leading cause of death in young athletes. I think that one strikes really powerfully home for Parks and Rec. We have fields, we have sports, we value youth, we value families, we encourage healthy lifestyles. And that statistic alone is a little bit hard. Every second counts. For each minute that passes without an AED assistance and CPR, the chance of survival decreases by 7 to 10%. The average response time nationwide now, I think San Ramon's much faster, but still the average response time is over 8 minutes. And in sudden cardiac arrest, brain death occurs within the first 4 to 6 minutes of collapse. So those first 4 or 5 minutes are just really crucial to trying to save a life. So we are the luckiest because Pulse Point, which is one of our local organizations, you all might remember if you think way back, Kim Chase, who used to work for the city and then work for the fire department, now is a part of Pulse Point. That was the app that if you download that app, then you can get notification of somebody having cardiac arrest near you, knowing what emergencies are going on, and being able to go and give life-saving CPR. So Pulse Point has offered to donate 2 AEDs with installation to be placed in Central Park and San Ramon Community Park. They are including the installation costs on a building with power. So that's key where we're going to put them. And they really want to partner with us to use the installation as kind of a beta test for both them and us. Because we've never put an AED in a park, we truly don't know exactly how that's going to go. However, there are many parks across the country now that are starting to install AEDs, and there are several companies that make AEDs for outdoor use. The California Good Samaritan law protects individuals from civil liability if they utilize the AED to save a life, as long as they act in good faith and they're not seeking any compensation. Big key for me, and this was the first question I asked Kim when we sat down to talk about this, is this going to be safe? I mean, what happens if a teenager grabs it off the wall and goes, hey, I'm going to zap my buddy? Well, AEDs will not shock someone who has a sinus rhythm. So that was a really key point to me because I did not realize that.
So
You know-
does that mean breathing?
No, your heartbeat.
Okay,
Heartbeat.
okay.
They'll not shock someone who has a heartbeat.
Gotcha.
So at this point, by participating in the pilot program, both the city and Pulse Point can try it out, develop some best practices around placing AEDs in parks, and then learn from the experience. Like I said, it's really not known if they'll be more prone to vandalism by putting them outside. The other cities that I've seen have had good success with them. And so it may be that AEDs have become so commonplace in buildings that when you put them outside, people just accept that still as okay, bells and whistles are going to go off, alarms are going to charge, lights and flashing lights, the police are coming. So it's not an item that people vandalize, but we really, that's the risk point here that we don't really know. So what are we talking about really? We're talking about a save station. And so these are wall-mounted units. They have remote monitoring. They are air and heated and cooled. They are lit, they're photo controlled. They have the real-time reporting. We can put a tag on it in case, like the tag, so that if someone does take it, we can find its location. And I believe they notify 911 at that same time. So if you do decide to vandalize it and pull it out of the case, the emergency services are on their way. So I think those are all the pieces that go to it. It's just a very generous offer. So in the amount of money that Pulse Point is probably putting in this is probably somewhere in the range of $5,000 to $7,000 in order to do this. Then the next question, of course, is where do we want to put these AEDs. So as we looked around Central Park and where would be the most logical place, Central Park, the building here is open more than any of our other buildings. So it has better hours and more accessibility than almost everywhere else. In addition, we have City Hall where there's also AED located. So in looking at it, we used to call it the snack shack that's out between the tennis courts and on that bathroom building is the location that we think would make the most sense. It's very visible from that kind of primary pathway that goes through. You can see it from the tennis courts and the playground and the sports fields with all our sports users. We feel like it's right there for them. So anybody who parked on the Alcasa side of the building and walked to the field would walk past it. So they would see it. But in addition, we also can communicate with our sports user groups and let them know, hey, look, we've got an AED at Central Park. So they can push that out through their coaches and their teams and everyone who's practicing. So that's about a piece of communication to try and push that forward. It's also well lit and just well-traveled location. So that was the spot. So you can see there were 3 different spots on the building. At this point, we haven't done an analysis about which spot on the building would be the best, but the first picture that you see, that one I think is their preferred location if the power will work for it. And that is part of this. We need to go in and assess which actual location would be the most, the simplest in order to attach the power to it. That's just an overhead shot of the park. So you can kind of see where the red arrow is pointing, what we're looking at. And that kind of shows you where it is in relationship to the tennis courts, the playgrounds, and that main pathway. The other location we were looking at is at Rancho Community Park. Now this park was a little different as we walked around that park. The outlying areas were kind of a little more isolated. And that community center is only open when something's going on in the building. So it is not as accessible as Central Park and City Hall that have some more regular hours. And as we talk to staff, in the event of an emergency, people have a tendency in that park to run to the building. And it makes sense. If you have a crisis there and you need help, that's the spot that you want to go. So as we looked at the building, as you enter right through that main entrance to the left, there's a nice cream colored wall. And you can see it in the picture. And that is where we think placing an AED would be the most logical in that space. It's particularly good because it's well lit. It will be caught by the exterior building cameras, so they'll have some monitoring there too. And everybody who drives around Rancho has to drive on that loop. You know, there's that road that goes all the way around. So we're thinking that we would have more visibility for it as people drive by and go back and forth. Again, the sports user groups, we would advise them all so they would know of its existence, and we would be able to advise picnic renters, but it would be all those other people that would maybe in the park. The one other thought we had on this, we did consider the bathrooms down on the other side, but it was a very long way from the sports fields in order to get there. So we thought in this park particularly, lots of additional signage that said AED located and a directional kind of picture of where to go get the AED.
Was Tiffany Roberts Park?
At this point, this is just a donation for the 2 biggest community parks, and that was how we defined it, were the community parks. If it works and it's something that's great, then we can definitely look at something, you know, to expand to all the other parks in the future.
I was just thinking because there's more organized sports at that park, which, you know, might lend itself to that. But I mean, I think it's at Rancho, it's certainly, you know, crowded, and probably the demographics are older, which might be more applicable, but, you know, there's more athletic activity at the other one,
Horseback.
which might also lend itself to, you know, medial assistance.
Rancho has a lot of sports activities
Yeah. I mean,
Let me show you 2.
more out of shape athletes. But
This is a little overhead shot too of where we're looking at. So you can kind of see the front side of the building where the arrow is pointing. obviously these parks are both very large, so figuring out the correct location is a little bit of a challenge, and finding a building with power is the other piece of that puzzle. Yes.
Well, I was going to say, Kathy, what are you looking for from us to approve the 2 locations and the installation of these?
Accepting the donation is the first and most important part of that. And the 2 locations would be helpful if the general locations in the 2 parks are fine. Because we
Okay.
still have to do research to make sure that we can place it in those locations.
Okay, great. And then I'd like to also follow a protocol here. So if we have any clarifying questions, I'd like to start with those. And then I'd like to open it up to public comment, and then we will provide Kathy feedback. So with that, does anyone have any clarifying questions for Kathy? Commissioner Breen?
I do. Hey, Kathy, I have 2 questions. One was maintenance of it and how it's covered during the test. And the other question I have is, with a scorecard, or how are we going to measure payout, but how are you going to measure successful? So we say it's a beta test. Is this something we want to go do, or if we're going to beta test, how are we measuring? What are we measuring the test? See, I
Yeah.
might be a little confused.
Yeah,
on that.
let me, when you ask 2 questions, I gotta make sure I get both of them. The first part was
Maintenance.
maintenance, thank you. I'm like, wait a minute,
Like
you
if
lost
someone
me
uses
already.
it, if I used it, I
Right.
will, right?
So all the AEDs, it's good information for you all. All of the AEDs that currently exist in our community centers, if case gets opened, the bells go off and we're notified. And so then it has to be reset and placed, everything put back. Mike Finelli, one of our supervisors, replaces pads on an annual basis. It's a requirement that even if it never gets opened, the pads have to be replaced. And he does all the required checks and make sure they're all functional at all of the facilities. So we do that, I believe it's annually, and it might be quarterly, that he has all of the other staff go check it. So the AEDs are all operational, and that's part of our normal protocols. So these 2 would be added to that list that he does anyway, so we maintain them that way. In regards to how do we judge whether or not we're successful, really the biggest key we're concerned about is vandalism and people using it when it's not appropriate. It's, I hate to say that if it sits and goes unused, that's not necessarily bad, because we just want it there. I mean, if we save 1 life with this project, it was well worth it. And when you read the stories from other cities who put them in and then they ended up saving a life, they can't imagine why they didn't put them everywhere, because it was worth it for the 1 life. So I think our real judgment here is whether or not it's vandalized. So do we have vandalized? Do we have to go and reset and replace the pads? Did someone take it and leave? Did we have to replace the whole AED? Did any of those things happen that are everyone's fears? Did anyone get it out and, did it not work? Did we not get the notification to 911? Did the information get back to us? Did all of those pieces work? If we're having failings anywhere on that list, then it may not be a good idea. We may not want to continue it.
So just to repeat, so the key measure is if vandalized or not, and then the other thing from a standpoint of maintenance, we have it covered, and it's covered in the budget too.
Yeah.
Probably. So, okay, thank you.
Was the 5 to 7 estimate for a single unit or both?
Both units.
All right. Any other clarifying questions? All right. 1 more, Commissioner Mitra.
So Kathy, just so that I understand, these units will be outside. Right now, whatever the units we have, all are inside. So there will be somebody in the staff who will probably be there to monitor that. Question is, if it is outside, vandalism is one of the things that came to my mind first, but you answered that already. The thing is, if anybody, will that be any clear instruction that anybody can be using that? Because somebody might just say that, oh, there is a unit, let's go and use it. And then other than not working, it's also, I may not follow the instruction properly because it's a very tense situation at that point.
Yeah, we're all trained on AED usage. And so I've gone through this training class every 2 years for the last several years. And so part of it is that the AED actually speaks to you. Now, it does speak in English, but it speaks to you, and it tells you very slowly and carefully what to do each step of the way. And it is a tense situation, and I hope I never have to to have to do it, but it does tell you. And it's just step by step by step. And then it says, okay, clear, don't touch, shock advised. And then it gives the shock and it tests for the rhythm. And if the rhythm is there, it will say, stand by and wait for emergency services, or it will say another shock advised. It's very, very simple. So that's what they've tried to do to make these accessible and easy for a Good Samaritan to use, even without training. However, I highly recommend that everyone go and get some training on it because it gives you some confidence.
So there'll be voice activated instructions.
Yes, it just speaks to you, it talks you all the way through every
That's-
step.
That's better. That's better. Yeah.
Yeah, we've gone through the training at our church, for similar, for both CPR and that.
Okay. Any other clarifying questions? All right, I'd like to find out, Stacy, do we have anyone in the audience with public comment?
Yes, we do have one caller with their hand up. Let me go ahead, allow them to talk. Go ahead, caller.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Even though I'm very excited about this $7,000 worth of donation, I am going to play devil's advocate in the hope that I can offer a little bit of protection to our city in case we do get sued. So first of all, because Ms. Hyman just mentioned that this donation is motivated by some sort of beta testing, I don't think someone who is a very shrewd injury attorney is going to hold us innocent, because I didn't hear any proposal to recruit volunteers and to train these volunteers and to possibly even assign these volunteers to those sports activity time where we, the city, can show that we are responsibly handling this donation. So for that, I would highly recommend the Parks Department to please take up the responsibility of notifying the community, recruit interested volunteers to go through training with the purpose of assigning them to volunteer standby work hours for sports groups that we know will be there, and then assessing the success or areas of improvement with those intentional and deliberate training volunteer practices, and then we can decide whether to relax it or decide that this is really not a good idea afterwards. And then because I see that not only are we responsible for the annual cost of pad installation already, if you are going to talk about more purchases, we need to have stats and data to justify to spend more money or to scale back and decide that this is not for us. So it is necessary to for us to responsibly manage this donation, even though it's donation. And honestly, I don't think relying on the Good Samaritan law is going to 100% set our city's reserve free if we cannot defend ourselves and say, look, we have taken this responsible steps as well. Thank you. That's all of my comments.
Thank you for your comments. Stacy, do we have anyone else in the audience?
That was the only hand raised.
Okay, I'd like to close the public comment and we will move to recommended action. Anyone have feedback? I'd like to go to Commissioner Dorlick.
Sure, I would propose a motion that we accept staff's recommendation and move forward with the donation installation of the 2 AEDs at the locations as indicated at staff's discretion.
I second it.
You have some discussion. Vice
So-
Chair Keniston Lee.
Thank you. So the only two things I had in mind were, number one, yes, I support the motion, but that we need to closely, as I imagine we would, closely monitor them for vandalism and just that kind of thing is real important. But the other thing for me is beyond reaching out to field user groups and so forth, I'm curious what the plan would be for communicating to the general public. Do we use a newsletter? Do we have a page on the website like the dog park page? I feel like there is some confusion on the part of people as to what the Good Samaritan Act covers and should I touch it? Can I touch it? Why is it there? So I'd like to see where it makes sense. I don't want us to create a tension that leads to vandalism, if you will, but I feel communication can be important in terms of it making more approachable to people. So I know you guys will address that, but that would be an important component for me. Thank you.
All right, additional feedback, Commissioner Breed?
Yeah, hey Kathy, I love this idea.
Mhm.
And anything happens, I'm just trying to, I love it. So couple ideas, couple things. If this test is successful, can we reach out to user groups and maybe have them co-sponsor like soccer and Little League, other locations, especially I thought about Athens Downs, right?
Mhm.
And then also sports park, just because that's, anyway, so you got it. And then the second thing is, as you pick the location, I guess you're looking at the highest traffic, because initially I thought, why would you put it at Athens Down? There's no facility there. There's lots of people there. That's frankly, I would have put one of them, but totally trust staff on it. But as we take a look at it, because it's accessibility, so we're covering a wider part of the community. And the last thing was, I agree. Is there a way that we can leverage this as kind of a cool initiative on creating awareness around preparedness around emergencies, right? I don't know if that's within scope of parks and that's kind of your role, but could we provide some type of training class, right? Or can we provide like an awareness week, like we're doing awareness for whole mental health, but can we create some type of awareness week on training people on CPR, AED, or getting people to go sign up to go do that, and how do we direct them to go do that and create kind of initiative behind this donation and educate the public that way. So a real positive way. So you got it. That's my feedback on that.
Yeah, can I dive in? Because I want to
Yep,
make sure I
absolutely.
respond to you both. Absolutely on marketing it. I think that's what we see as a thing that we definitely want to do. And I know that Kim French is actually online right now watching the meeting. So she may want to chime in here at some point, but the marketing is important and we want to put the word out there and we want people to know that we are trying it out. Yes, there's a potential that it could be vandalized, but I don't want to not tell people about it because that's the point. Let's see if this works. And, in the grand scheme of things, since the people who tend to vandalize sometimes are those young people, we have to hope that in this case, they would see the life-saving potential of this, and that would be a little bit different. And yeah, if this works and we are successful and we learn some things from it, like, was this the right location? Did it work? Was, all of those pieces, then we would definitely want to expand to our other parks. I think the sports parks, Athens Downs, there are many, many parks that it could be useful in. You can kind of make a case for, is there a park that it's not useful in? So there's a lot of room to keep going. This was just the first step in impetus, and it's because Pulse Point approached us that it creates an opportunity for us to be able to try it. And so that's kind of the story.
Well, in the Pulse Point application, when it originally came online, partnered with the CERT training program. I think it stands for Citizens Emergency Response Team. And you could register on there so that you were alerted if there was an emergency, and you could respond to it as a CPR, and CERT trained individual in the community. So there is a program. I haven't seen it actively, maybe because of the pandemic over several years. But there is that program that does provide that training and, in effect, a certification, if you will, that you have had the CPR and AED and emergency, facility training. Plus, you get like snacks that last for 100 years. In your little coat bag.
Yeah. And so the one thing I might add too, is as you're bringing up these other parks, one of the other thought processes in the two community parks are because we have staff in those locations, they're working out of those spaces. So it's a simple thing for them to monitor every day. In addition to everything else, they can get a visual look at it. And so placing it in the out-based parks, although where we want to eventually go, that requires a lot more intention for us to get a staff out there and go, okay, everybody stop by and see if the AED is okay.
Can I just finish the only point I want to stress is, if successful, I think the user groups and how can we partner with them to maybe contribute and pay for those and the parts that they use a lot. So that's a big deal. Sorry, I'm done.
Okay, and I see Commissioner Mitra has a
Kathy,
point to
I
make.
love this idea, first of all, so definitely it's go for me. Couple of which I heard from Commissioner Fritz is like we're doing the testing. Is it a testing or is it just go like that? Because testing means what will be the target goal? Because it's there, maybe somebody uses it, maybe somebody don't use it. Like how do we test it? How do we say this is the test targeting to testing? So that's one thing I want to clarify. That are we this motion is for go ahead and install. That is the thing, or is are we testing?
Correct.
Okay, so I wanted to clarify too, because this one speaker may have made that sound confusing, and maybe our use of beta test is not the right word. The AEDs are made to go outside. They are well used in places across the United States. So it's not a test of the unit itself. It's more a test of in here in our community, do these work outside? Are they vandalized? Are they supported by the community? If we push it out on social media, are we going to get a lot of positive feedback from people? Or are we going to get a lot of negative feedback? I assume it would be positive, but I don't know that. And so that's what this test would be about. Are they well received? Do people know where they're located? Are they being vandalized? Does it work on an outside building?
Can I have a follow-up? Also, usage wise, outsides, have we done any research on any other cities, local cities or close by cities, where the outside one are being used? And outside, we are thinking that when the inside is not accessible, inside one is not accessible, I think that's probably the target time, right?
Right. Although I will say, people, when they have a medical emergency, don't always tell us in the Central Park. If they see the AED and they need an AED, they are more likely to grab the AED and go with it and do what they need to do before they stop to run inside and go, hey, I have an emergency. Do you have an AED in here? So it's that's how people's brains work at those moments in time.
And also the last one is, as far as the publicly making things available, letting people know, I think we should definitely do that. Do we really think about having some sort of video kind of things to it, rather than having a session, somebody come and join the sessions? Is it so simple to use that equipment? Maybe a small 1-minute video would be available for anybody to know how to use it.
No, I bet you there's some on YouTube right now. So we could probably link it,
Just link it, yeah.
to your point, to put something on the website that says, the San Ramon now has AEDs accessible in these 2 locations. Here's a video of how to use it.
So people
That's
will
a
be
great
confident
idea.
to use it immediately because they already said the video.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So we've made a motion and we've had a second to the motion, and you've received feedback, suggestions on possibly things to be looking at. So we take a vote. All in favor? Aye.
Thank
All
you
right,
so much.
passes. All right. We agreed at the beginning of the meeting during the special items and announcements that we would move 8.1 and 8.2 after 9.1. So I'm going to move to 9, and I'm going to introduce staff reports. 9.1, recreation operations and maintenance report. Kathy.
Excellent. Well, hopefully you got a chance to take a quick look at the rec report. We are in summer, which means everyone is busy, and there are so many exciting activities going on. The senior ice cream social was a pretty big deal. Our lunch bunch trips always are well attended and people are really enjoying. One thing I want to draw your attention to is the Dougherty Station Farmers Market. I don't know if you noticed the zucchini car races in the packet. That was super well received. And I forgot to mention, so I'm glad it popped into my brain right now, that at the farmers market this next coming Sunday, July 17th, it's going to be Kids Day. And so they're doing puppet shows and kids crafts and kids cooking classes. So I wanted to put that all in your brains too. I think you already mentioned the dog park website launched. And we've been having some really good experiences going on with our dance recital because that was Miss Christie's, I think, her 30th. So lots of fun activities. Does anybody have any questions on what we've got going on in the rec report?
I just had a question, Kathy, about how do we track the open gym participants? Do we have a sign-in sheet? How is that tracked?
Open gym, it costs $5 to do. So in order to come in, you have to pay. And so therefore we have our registration numbers that track it.
Got it. Any other questions, comments? All right, move on to maintenance.
All right. So in our maintenance report, public services has been very busy and they did a lot of work at Creekside Park. If you got a chance to take a look at it, you noticed all of the new restroom roofs at Hidden Valley and the Parks Make Life Better that happened at Centennial Park and a large mulching project at Athen Downs. So they've had quite a bit going on. And they're also getting ready right now to do the Dougherty Station renovation. Probably the biggest thing that really finally got accomplished was the addition of the lights at the San Ramon Olympic Pool. That project had been a long 4-year kind of journey, maybe longer, because it needed a special permit from the school district and the state school. So school over the advisory body of schools. I can't remember the right word for it. In any case, it finally got through and done, and we have new and beautiful lights at the San Ramon Olympic Pool, which increase safety for participants at night, helps the lifeguards be able to see.
I actually have one question on that.
Okay.
Okay, this is for our department, but also, Public Works, obviously, and I find there aren't as many people in our community who know about the CRM process as should, and I sort of feel like today's my day to talk about communication, but I would love for us to, work with all the appropriate departments and figure out how can we promote that more? I just feel like people don't know they can get online and say if a light's not working or whatever, I just feel like there's a disproportionate number of folks that don't know that exists. And that's the huge communication vehicle for our communities. So if you could run that up the flagpole, that'd be great.
I would be happy to. I will say that when you see the reports of what CRMs the city gets as a whole, the vast majority by hundreds go to public services for parks, exactly, for streetlights, trees, branches, sprinklers.
Holes in the wall, holes in the
On the road.
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a great idea. Thank you.
Mhm. Great suggestion. Before we move on or backwards, do we have anyone in the audience for public comment?
We do have someone on.
No
on the
hands
line,
raised?
On the phone.
Okay, all right, so we'll move on now. Well, actually, we're gonna go back to item 8 point.
She said she does have some.
Oh, you do? Oh, I'm sorry, I
do.
misunderstood that.
apologize. Go ahead, caller.
Hi, am I allowed to speak?
You are, yes.
Okay, so I was wondering if Ms. Hyman can please add on to the new farmers market in Dougherty Valley Station. I didn't see any report or update on perhaps like how successful it is. Are we getting the turnout that we had anticipated? What about the feedback coming from the vendors? Are they happy that they are investing in the Dougherty Valley station, and did that take away from the Saturday one at the lots? I was hoping I could see a little bit of those comparisons, but I don't think I read it in the report. If it is in the report, I apologize. I don't know where it is, but if it's not, I was wondering if there could be a little bit of an insight. Thank you.
Right, thank you, caller. Public comment is closed. All right, moving backwards, we're going to go to 8.1. This is very awkward. But I want to thank Vice Chair Keniston Lee for her kind request to allow me to run my very first in-person meeting a little
Everybody
bit
has-
longer than 30 seconds.
Everybody has to experience it, so.
But I haven't done this
Yeah,
yet, so there we go.
not yet.
All right. The meeting is still in session. That was just practice. Anyway, so 8.1, recognition of outgoing chairperson. So I don't know how we.
I'm
get
gonna
started.
just dive in here and take
Okay.
over for a minute because I agree. So this has been a year like no other year, right? Between the COVID and Zoom, we're gonna Zoom, we're not gonna Zoom. Nope, now we're gonna be in person, now we're not. It's been such a challenge from the small committee meetings to the commission meetings. You have really handled being the chair with grace. And you've been a really exemplary chair. You've managed complicated issues and again, all the technology. And so just really want to appreciate you for what you've done. Really enjoy getting to meet with you every month. That's probably the best part about all you rotating through the chair position, because it gives me a chance to get to know each of you better and actually talk really deeply about lots of these issues. And so I really appreciate it. And I hope that we'll still be able to talk. And now, because we're
Thank you,
live-
Kathy. So
Get
kind.
this lovely plaque that says Julia Osmond, chairperson.
Lovely.
Get a mug.
And a mug,
Too.
too.
You are looking for that mug.
I know, I really
Really
want to.
There
Thank
you
you.
go.
Thank you all very, very, very
And,
much.
And we get to say
The other
stuff too.
commissioners would like to speak, but why don't we
Yeah.
kind of go in some whatever order?
Yeah, oh,
It's been fun. You've done great. And look forward to you continuing on the commission.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Dorlick.
so I wanted on behalf of Commission to give you some flowers. And I wanted to say that the things that I think of when I think of Julia in the position of chair is that, and this is very difficult to do over Zoom, it can be, to express a sense of warmth and professionalism at the same time is sometimes doesn't always translate over Zoom. And you're very good at that. You're insightful, you're dedicated, you're professional, and you did a great job. And I was very happy that you were on the commission and that I got to know you because I didn't know you before this. And so thank you for all your service.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, I want to think it's been great. We're getting to know each other and find out that we have more things in common. And you have done an exemplary job. I mean, you have been very professional and handled people and issues very well. And that you should be proud of yourself for a job that you've done well.
Thank you.
Chair Osmond, first of all, I was inducted during your time, so that was the first meeting when we started this. I would like to really let you know how appreciated I was the way you had helped me to onboard the whole process. It was a big jump from audit advisory to here, a lot of things to learn. And I still remember at least for 2 months, we had regular conversation over phone where you handled me and kind of trained me on that. Really appreciated that. And, I'll remember that. So thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I got nothing. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, when I say Julia, it's we're trying to interrupt you, but I'm totally with Martha on the onboarding. It was awesome. So, and the care you take, as a leader of an org chart, as a leader, sometimes you want to make sure everyone's up to speed and understanding. And you took that time with me to say, here's process, here's how it works, and education. so I can come to speed and be a contributor to this great commission. So I wouldn't have been able to do that without your help. And there's things I admire most about, but I think the thing I admire most about you is part of running a commission is a process of, as a leader, not being the last one to say. I'm sure you got a ton of opinions, but you're very patient to let everyone speak. You hold your opinion to the end. You're concise with it, and you make sure that we follow the right Robert Rules of Order and process, which is very difficult to do. So, but you're so patient with it. So, and I'm very appreciative of it because it makes us more efficient. You make sure that we're all up to speed. And, I was super blessed to have you help me a ton. So, because it helped me, hopefully Kathy thinks we're all contributing the right way. I'll get a feedback later on, but no, without your help, it would not have been. So thank you so much. You got it. So yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you.
I did also want to say that there are two people I also want to acknowledge who've been with you on this journey. And number one is Kathy, because she puts in a tremendous amount of work, as you know, preparing us, getting us up to speed. And also Christy, it's a thankless job. And so I have flowers for both of you. And Christy won't be able to join them. So you guys will fight over them. But thank you for all the behind the scenes work that makes our job possible, because we kind of get the glory and you guys are in the trenches. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So thoughtful of you. Thank you
Yes,
so much.
yes. So I do have a few words that I want to say too. I feel very overdressed tonight because I'm not sitting at my desk with my big circle light staring at me, looking at my little tiny little surface with my pillow behind my back in my comfortable leggings and my flip-flops.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, thanks for allowing me to actually get dressed and presentable out in public. But most of all, what I really want to say is that, the work that we do is so, so important. And I really care about what we do. And I'm going to get teary, but I feel really honored to sit at this table with all of you, because I know we all feel the same way about the work that we do and about our community here. And so it's truly an honor. So thank you so much for allowing me to be your chair for this past year on Zoom and allowing me one meeting to actually get dressed and, look presentable.
Hopefully you get dressed for the other meetings too.
I do, but I'm telling you, it's a much different look lower. I got my flip flops on, and I didn't mention the little box that I have to lift my feet up on. So, but I also wanted to let you guys know that I meet with Kathy once a month as chair. That is one of the things that you get to do, and you get to plan the agenda with her and learn a lot of things. And so thank you, Kathy, for the opportunity. I've really looked forward to our meetings together. But I asked her recently what's most important for commissioners to bring to the table. And she said, be prepared for your meetings, read your packets thoroughly, keep your eyes on the parks and the trails and open space and recreation master plan. That's our Bible. Be looking at that frequently and being very, very well versed in it. And be able to consider realigning priorities as they arise, because that is one thing that I have noticed sitting in the seat, that, we may all want this, but this comes up. So we have to be able to realign and work with where the demands are and really, make decisions, which sometimes can be hard to make. And that was the last thing she said, was be willing to say no when you believe it's the right thing to do. So I just want to leave the commissioners with those wise words of wisdom. And thank you, Kathy, and thank all of you. It's been fun. One more item here, 8.2, election of new officers for 2022-2023. Do I have a motion to elect a new chair? Commissioner.
I nominate.
I'll second Wilson's motion since I was going to do the same.
Okay,
thing, so.
all right.
Will, good thinking now. I'm with you.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Can
Do
you
we-
say that a little louder? Because it got a little garbled in there, so I want to make sure that it was clear.
I don't know if your microphone is on.
Oh, no, it hasn't been.
Okay, want to turn it on and then be very
I
clear?
just want to be clear.
Okay, to be clear, I am nominating the individual who was vice chair to my immediate left, the audience's right. And that would be current vice chair Heidi Kensington Lee.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And the second is,
Me. I'm sorry, Steve Breed.
all right,
Used.
we have a motion. What am I supposed to say here? I have to go back. All in favor? I think we have unanimous. I'd like to open the floor now to elect a vice chair, and I would like to nominate Commissioner Dorlick for vice chair.
I'd like to second it.
Thank you.
All in favor? Aye. All right.
This is my favorite chair. Well, you got to vote.
All right. I'd like to welcome our new chair,
Thank
Heidi
you.
Keniston Lee, and I will pass the gavel over to you.
Do
for
you want
your-
to, whack it one more time?
I'm
just for-
closing my term right there. And I'd like to congratulate you and also congratulate our new vice chair.
Thank
Commissioner
you.
Dorlick.
So don't move.
Okay,
If
all
that's
right.
okay.
So we're gonna go
Thank
to
you.
item number 10, Commission Liaison Reports, and I will get us started with many city council. Are we good with that, guys? Okay. I'm gonna get us started with several city council meetings, and I will try and make it brief. We had a meeting on June 14th. There was a proclamation issued declaring June 2022 is LGBTQ plus Pride Month. They introduced, as they did in our meeting, the new senior community librarian, Frances Abadola Wilson. They also introduced Chris Weeks. If you don't know him, he is the new transportation division manager taking over for Lisa Bobadilla. So formerly with Sunset. So yeah. And then there was a very thorough presentation by East Bay Mud, an annual update. So if you're interested, 2/3 of our city actually are served by East Bay Mud. And so if you're interested in what they're doing to address the drought, water supply, water storage, and so forth, definitely check that one out. I kind of sort of direct you guys over to those meetings where there are lengthy discussions, but it was very informative. They did pass, accept our library advisory committee recommendation from Masumi Kadakota, and our senior citizen advisory committee recommendation for Sandra Lee March. There was some discussion on, as there has been, on confirming lighting and landscaping districts and assessments, related assessments. Let's see here. They did pass a resolution establishing a word count on volunteer candidate statements for the upcoming municipal election to 400. There was also passage of a resolution establishing a voluntary campaign expenditure limitation for the election. I believe they landed on a $1.40 per registered voter per mayor and a $2.35 per registered voter for the city council districts. So that was interesting. And then there was also a requesting consenting to consolidation of elections. Basically, if I understand correctly, that sort of aligns county things with city stuff. So that was that meeting. And then there was a joint city council planning commission meeting on June 21st, where they had a little public hearing on the general plan 2040 update, specifically talking about the housing element comments of the mixed use density and floor area ratio, they call FAR information. So basically they passed a motion to submit that cycle, it's the 8-year cycle, 2023 to 2031 housing element to the California California Office of Housing and Community Development. They now have a 90-day review period where they look at it. And I think the thought was on part of that collective body was to get some feedback from the state on whether we were sufficiently addressing our housing needs for rename element. So that happened. And then June 28th was another city council meeting. They introduced Megan O'Donoghue as our new human resources division manager, so a new HR person. Some new business was conversion of the Deer Creek South Apartments from moderate income senior to non-age targeted affordable units. I think they were having trouble moving the units with the prior categorization, and they're hoping that this will make them more marketable. And then they received for the other third of our communities covered by the Dougherty, Dublin San Ramon Services District for water. And so that representative came and gave a presentation on their what they do to provide water to our community. And it really is interesting considering water is such a huge issue for our community right now. So I would say take a look at it if you're interested.
District 7.
So, yeah. And then last night was a city council meeting. They issued a proclamation declaring July as Parks Make Life Better Month. And so that was always nice to see the function and the department recognized. So that was really great. And then Kathy gave a really great update on our dog park initiatives that we're doing. So she talked about the website, and she talked about some of the issues that we've encountered and concerns that residents have about dog parks in our community and what's being done to address that. With regard to grass coming in for one of the parks, she talked about creating a CIP. She talked about some of the social media efforts that we have made to advertise, so that was really good. Some of the folks asked about, said that residents were expressing interest in dog parks in other parts of our community, and that part of the efforts will be to research where those opportunities exist, so that was good. And the grass at Park and Ride, and then the enhanced signage. So, and I actually thought council members so far made a good point that folks are moving away from the signs that have a lot, moving away from the signs with a lot of verbiage. They don't take the time to read and sort of use more visuals and more icons and things. So that was a good point that she made. And also, I guess the last thing on that I would say is that for social media, you can go on and use hashtag, tell me if I get this right, Kathy, SR Hearts Dogs, right?
Correct.
So, yeah, so if you want to go and take a picture of your dogs at one of the dog parks and post it, I think that would be fun to celebrate. But I like to see where our department takes opportunities to communicate those kind of things. And I think the city council really enjoyed getting that update. So
So is it the emoji heart or is it the spelled out? Is it
it's hearts spelled out.
Okay.
Yeah, SR hearts spelled out, dogs spelled out.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I think that was it.
So I have a question regarding the dogs, the dog parks. So was there any discussion regarding the evidence of, say, but recycling the dogs? I mean, has there been a trend for people that have, taken a dog into their family during the pandemic? And returning the dogs, has there been a high percentage of that? Has there been any studies on that, either locally or, area wise? That seems to be, an issue that might be here where people reacted to get a dog during the pandemic. And went, holy cow, I gotta go to work now.
I haven't heard that's a concern for people, although a lot of companies still have not gone back to completely in-person work. And so a lot more people are working from home 2, 3, or a lot more days a week. So I don't know if there has been an increase in that. It is a great question whether or not this will be a bubble in regards to the desire for more dog parks, or whether or not it will be, if we can improve what we've got and it will level off, or will it continue to grow? I couldn't answer that without some more data.
Or do we need like a regular dog park and then a designer dog park?
Yeah.
Make sure that they're not, abused.
Commissioner Dorlick, do you have any liaison reports?
No, the Arts Advisory Committee did not meet in June, so I do not have any report.
I should say Vice Chair
You
Dorlick.
don't have to.
I just did.
Okay.
Okay, Chair Osman?
Oh, thank you.
I gotta get it straight. See, in my mind, you're Chair Osland. Okay, Commissioner Osland.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Open Space Advisory Committee met on Monday, the 11th, and
we received a presentation from East Bay Regional Park District, the annual update, and it was presented by Neoma Laval, and she's the principal planner there. Really great stuff is going on with Los Trompas, Bishop Ranch, and Sycamore Valley. And so those are kind of the three main areas that they're focusing in on in closing up trail gaps. So all great stuff. Talked a lot about the Southern Los Trampas land use plan, and there's the Calaveras Ridge Trail. There are segments there where gaps are being closed. The Feria Preserve will have a parking area for about 25 parking spots for hiking, for hikers. So that's in the works. Talked about, let's see here, Bishop Los Trampas to Bishop Ranch. Let's see here, there's the Chang property, and then Norris Canyon Estates, again, closing gaps. And my notes are quite hard for me to read here, but.
So closing gaps refers to
Meaning
connecting trails.
Yes,
Mhm.
connecting
Okay.
trails, existing trails.
Okay.
And then on the east side of San Ramon, there's discussions working with Camp Parks and connecting, using up some of that. There are been some negotiations with land to help us connect Asahara. So very, very, very interesting discussion. I'd love to have those maps. I guess they're East Bay Regional Park maps, but they're very detailed and you can really see where these spaces are that they're discussing. So a lot of work with the city of San Ramon and our open space with East Bay Regional Parks. And the only other thing I think is worth bringing up is that the Preservation and Protection Committee, subcommittee with the Open Space Advisory Committee, they presented their plan to us a couple months back and we provided our feedback. They have since presented to the Planning Commission.
Right.
And they have now decided that it's really important to really change the name of the actual report because it's not a master plan. It's a vision. It's a vision for preserving contiguous open space with recommendations. And so the presentation of the planning commission went fairly well, got some good feedback. And so their next steps now are to present to the, I believe, policy committee for city council. And then the last thing I want to mention is that there is the Open Space Advisory Committee Fall Hike Series, and that will be coming up in September, October, and November. They've got their hikes planned, and that will be a new activity guide. So,
Right.
that's Open Space Advisory.
I did want to mention that the Planning Commission year in review was mentioned at the city council meeting last night, but Commissioner Lopez Lucy is going to talk to us about that.
Right, thank you. And because there was a lot of oversight, I mean, not oversight, but duplication, overlapping of the commission, of the city council and the park. So at one of them, I called and said that I was going to be out of town. So it was great that Chair could take those notes. And then on July 5th, the Park Commission, they have the CEQA and general plan updates for 2040 that they will be working on now. That seems like a lot of time, but it includes climate plan updates, environmental impact in additional areas, some such as the state housing elements, the zoning, the heights, and also there will be separate CEQA updates. And the public hearing will be closing on that July 25th of this month. So there's a lot that will be going on in that, the plan update. The Open Space Committee presented their annual report to the planning, in which we had seen it and heard it, but it was even in more detail with the planning, because they had a lot more questions. And the new chair is Mr. Albert and the vice chair is Ms. Edwards, they elected. And then they also had the presentation for items that happened that they took care of this year. And there are quite a few, so I've just kind of summed it up here. The SP 30 process was a big deal. And then the townhomes on Deerwood were passed. The sandbox was passed. City Village Plan BR 6, that has 404 units, that has passed. Then they had a conceptual review of the Deerwood Drive, and that's 61 units, but that's just a concept, and that will be forthcoming. They had a proposal for the Morgan Masonry site, and that first proposal that they had, they did not plan to proceed with it. The Wildflower Townhomes conceptual plan, they heard, but they did not pursue the people did not pursue it. The walking district they approved, which was very long, and they said they know that we'll have future updates to this. The general plan to the city and state continues. They had concept review of Hampton Inn. They're waiting for them to come back to see if they agree with what they've negotiated. City Village 6 with map revisions was heard and passed. And then the El Nido Assistance Living has been approved after many areas that they had to jump through. And the Primrose Daycare Facility was approved. Now there's a new Anthem Development presented a plan for affordable housing at the Masonry or the Morgan site. And they have not come back whether they've decided whether they will continue with this plan or not. And that's supposed to be for all affordable housing. The upcoming City Walk BR1A apartments will have 381 units. So that's forthcoming up that they will be planning. And the Iron Horse Valley SB 3030 at El Costa and Coro Canyon Road is proposing to be built there 117 units. But those latter three are, proposals and that have been decided upon. So it was very interesting to see that they've been busy.
Really busy.
Very
Yeah.
busy.
Yeah.
And will continue to be busy.
Yep. Commissioner Mitra?
Thank you. Not much to update because Library Advisory Committee meets every quarter, and tomorrow is one of those.
So next meeting, we're gonna have a really good report from you. I can't wait.
Just tell us what you think is gonna happen.
I hope so. Another one is Innovation and Technology Advisory Committee, which has not been meeting until
Okay.
now. Last month, there was a meeting and I was out of country, so I requested Commissioner Dollis to do that. I don't know if there was a meeting there.
No, there wasn't.
Does-
Yeah, because I
Okay.
checked in with Stacy. and
That's one of
she
the things that
said there wasn't a meeting.
We formed a team,
Mhm.
technology and innovations, supposed to be a big deal for
Yeah.
the city going forward. It's been 6 months or even more than that. There was no meeting at all.
Mhm.
They can't figure out Zoom.
Kathy, do you know of any updates on that?
It was formed by the city council, so I
Yeah.
thought they met, quite honestly.
Did they?
I believe they met.
Okay.
Okay, because I checked in and I was told that there wasn't a meeting. Okay.
Can I propose that
Okay.
for the next report, maybe find out what they addressed at this meeting and then add it on to what happens at the next meeting and just give us a comprehensive report for the next time? Would that be okay? Okay, sounds good. Anything else?
Held by Zoom? Perfect, so they'll be
Okay,
a
we're
report.
good.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Okay. Excellent. Good idea.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Anything else? No? Commissioner Bree?
I'm not a liaison, so.
Wait a minute.
Wow,
Mental note,
I know, I'm not a
Vice Chair,
liaison.
we need to
anything,
rectify this
But
situation.
I have been umpiring baseball in a lot of our parks. so I got that going. So,
That's a thankless job, so.
It is a thankless job.
Yeah, I
All
almost
right.
did it, but my intentions were evil, so I was stopped from doing it by myself.
Okay, all right. Is there anything else anybody has to add for the good of the order? No? Okay, do you want to? All right, we are hereby adjourned. Wait. Oh, yeah. Thank you for reminding me. Do we have any public comment?
Yes, we do. Let the caller in.
Thank you.
Go ahead, caller.
Hi, first of all, I was ignored all the way from acknowledging the outgoing chair to the agenda election to now the report. So I'm going to comment on all those that I was failed to be called on. So first of all, thank you for the outgoing chair for always allowing me to speak kindly and gracefully. Graciously, I really appreciate your leadership. And for the incoming chair, Keniston Lee, I am very happy that you are the chair. I have noticed you were definitely also very friendly to me when I showed up at the physical walkthrough at the senior center last time. I really appreciate that. So I congratulate you. I do have a question for the commission addressing Commissioner Breed's comment. I am confused why he mentioned that this commission public meeting is now governed by the Roberts Rule. Are you guys frivolously changing the rules per your preference? I don't think it's your jurisdiction to do that because the Browns Act is the official California state adopted public meeting rule. It's a law that is not in your jurisdiction to freely switch. In addition, at the turn of the calendar year, I remember the city attorney, Martin License, came to you and trained you on Brown's Act. In addition, there was no agenda item on discussion of your intention to switch, no disclosure to the public of your switch for public comments, and any vote for authorization by the city council. I'm so confused. Please, if you want to ignore me, ignore my questions, don't, bring out a frivolous switch that you have no jurisdiction to do. That makes you look very, very indifferent, authoritarian, and arrogant. And I don't think you are those kind of people. So I encourage you to please respond to my concern why you're switching over to Robert's Rule without going through proper protocols and procedures. In addition, you really don't have the jurisdiction to do that. And I really would like at least acknowledgement. You don't have to, answer every detail of my questioning, but I really took offense that when I asked about the farmers market, I was completely ignored. That is very, very rude. Thank you.
Thank you, user. So as with public comment, we follow very strict regulations as to what we can comment on and what we cannot. What I would ask is that perhaps staff can get back to the caller with answers regarding the Brown Act, because it's there's several details involved in that discussion. So we'll ask that staff get back to you to answer those questions, if that would be okay. Okay. All right. Any other public comment? All right, thanks. So with that, we'll go to item 11 and we'll adjourn, and I will ask the previous chair to once again use the gavel. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Hey, good sitting next to you, by the way. Can you see okay?
I can see fine. You don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
We usually try and put the new question here.
I want to stay here forever. But
Yeah.
hey, one other thing I was going to mention during the